All right, greetings everyone. Now that it's 4 o'clock, we're going to go ahead and get started. I am Adrienne White, the Director of Marketing here at Ozobot, and I'm joined by Melissa.
And I am the Education Technology and Adoption Specialist here at Ozobot.
Yay! And just a quick shout out to Kristen Albright, who is one of our certified educators who's co-hosting this webinar with us. So welcome, Kristen, and thank you for joining. And I just want to quickly mention that we've been keeping an eye on the chat while we got set up here, and it seems like we have attendees from all over the United States. Almost every state seems to be represented. New Jersey, Michigan, Washington, and then I think the winner for tuning in from the furthest distance is India. So thank you for joining us, and you can use that chat to send us messages as we go. Typically what we do in these webinars is mostly run through the content we've prepared and have to share with you, and then we try and address questions at the end. Just a heads up, if you drop something into the chat and we don't get to your question, we will go through everything afterwards, answer any questions, and share that in a follow-up email. So just know that we will always address any questions or comments you have, and we really appreciate them. Okay, so we're gonna jump into talking about the Certified Educator program for Ozobot. What we're covering today applies whether you are interested in being a certified educator but know nothing about it, or whether you are a current certified educator and want to get a deeper understanding and or connect with other educators.
And there's updates as well, changes that have been made, so it's great to keep updated if you already are a certified educator to know about all our new updates and changes.
Yes, absolutely. So we will click through here. And what we're going to cover today, we are doing, of course, a giveaway. So we're going to cover how you sign up for that giveaway. We do like to make sure that people are actually in attendance and tuned into the webinar in order to be eligible to win that Ozobot Evo Classroom Kit. So we'll cover that at the front. Here, let me turn on our camera so you can see what Melissa's holding up. 1 second. Oops. Camera is here. There.
This is the classroom kit that you will receive once you're accepted into the Certified Educator program.
Yeah, and our giveaway winner will also get one.
Yes.
So we'll cover the giveaway sign up. We will talk about how to qualify for our Certified Educator program. Melissa mentioned that there have been changes, and that's one of the biggest changes is how you actually go through the process of applying. So we'll talk through that. We will talk about the perks of being a certified educator. One of the biggest ones has to do with product, but there's more we want you guys to be aware of. Then we get into the part we are probably the most excited about today, meet a certified educator. We've got Kristen here, and we think, you know, there's no one better to talk to you about this program than an actual certified educator. We can weigh in on it to the best of our abilities, but we're really happy to have Kristen here joining us. Then we'll get into a Q&A. Like I mentioned, we will, if you guys aren't shouting out questions at that point, we'll try to go through the chat and pull things out of there. We've also got one of our colleagues, Heather, in the room to help us with pulling questions from the chat. So that's when we'll address most of those. And then last but not least, we'll be announcing that winner to the giveaway. Cool. And let's see, Kristen, I just want to check with you. We have you muted. Do you want me to physically unmute you?
No, I had it muted just because I didn't want to cut in on what you were saying. Be here, and I see some friends that are here, Janice and Gerald, and a couple other people from Pennsylvania that I know, and they're very excited about Ozobot as well. So it's nice to have some familiar names as well.
Is the audience able to hear Kristen? Would you be able to type into the chat if you're able to hear her? I wonder if it's
yeah, it looks like we're able to hear her.
Okay, that is good. Let me just play with a couple of our settings really quick.
I wonder if is there a sound.
That is funky. Maybe what we'll do, Kristen, we can't hear you on our end, which I know didn't happen during our test. So,
Hear me now?
Oh, there we go. Yay.
the technology gods have smiled upon us. Okay, so we're good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and move to our next slide. Here's the giveaway sign up. Melissa, do you mind covering details for
Yes,
this?
yeah. So here sorry about that feedback. What we're gonna do is if you could go on to the short link that we provided you, it's ozo.bot/giveaway. We're asking for just your name and your email address, and at the end, we're gonna have a fun and random way to pick a winner. And so we're just collecting this information so that we can make sure we can contact you if you're the winner. Put in your name and email address. We are only accepting one entry per participant, so if you do try and be a little sneaky and enter a couple of times, you will be automatically disqualified.
We'll
just
find you.
Yes, just to make sure this is fair for everybody. So the winner must be present for the duration of the webinar, and we'll announce at the end. So yeah.
Great. And someone, Kristen, it looks like shared the link right in the chat, so you guys have that to get to. Okay, so this is just kind of the...
Sorry, can I interrupt really quickly?
Yeah.
I think we'll give about 10 minutes for people to get on there and to sign up, and then we'll close the entries at 4:16.
Yes.
Sorry.
Countdown begins. 4:16 is the time you have to go to that link, ozo.bot/giveaway, put in your information, and then it's going to close. So now we want to cover some of the basics about the Ozobot Certified Educator program. One of the first questions we typically get is, who is eligible for this program? The answer to that is that anyone who's a US-based educator, public school or private school, is free to apply. And that includes K-12 teachers, school and district administrators. We know there's a whole span of titles tied to those, so I won't try to name all of them, but a couple include curriculum specialists, library media specialists. We have a lot of tech TOSAs in the program, and then anyone who's kind of a PD trainer or anyone teaching and training other teachers.
Yep.
I think that covers that. We get a lot of questions about international educators and whether they're eligible for our Certified Educator program. And I know we have at least one person logged in from India. So I want to address that. We generally are looking for US-based educators, but please do email us at certifiededucator@ozobot.com. We'll see if we can find a way to accept you into the program. And we do make some accommodations here and there. So hope is not lost. Anything else you want to touch on there? Okay, great. Now the requirements of the program, the strict stuff. Basically, the Ozobot Certified Educator program is a 2-year program. Once you apply and get accepted, you're in it for 2 years. I just want to mention it's really easy once you're in the program. If you remain active, we're going to keep rolling you over and bringing you into further cohorts of the Certified Educator program. We want to keep anyone who's engaged and active around and keep getting you new product. So that's a long-winded way of saying that these requirements are worth it, I promise. So we do ask that our Ozobot Certified Educators attend a conference or present. Sometimes that looks like presenting at a district event. There's a little bit of flexibility around what that looks like. But present either at a conference or a district event once per year. So that's 2 times during the 2-year program.
And I know that some educators like to ask like what kind of conferences count. We accept regional, even like city or school-wide conferences, national conferences. We're pretty flexible with what we're able to accept. We just want you to spread the word about Ozobots.
Yeah, just to add on to that, some context on why we ask for that. Our team travels to trade shows throughout the year. We go mainly to ISTE and FETC. We're going to Q if it doesn't get canceled because of COVID-19, we'll see. But that's kind of the main shows that we'll cover throughout the year. And then we find that it's really valuable to have certified educators out there covering sometimes more regional or state level shows to answer people's questions, get the word out about Ozobot, like Melissa mentioned. So that's where that requirement comes from. and we are really flexible on what kinds of things qualify. And then the next requirement has to do with lesson content. So if you guys are already familiar with Ozobot, you probably know that our lessons are available for free to educators. There's no limit on the number of downloads or times you can use our lessons. A lot of lessons in the Ozobot lesson library are developed in-house by our one-woman EDU team, Melissa. That includes things like our core coding curriculum, which if you haven't checked it out, please do. It's 9 lessons per grade level for K through 5, and a really great way to introduce coding and computer science concepts. So that's some of the in-house content, but then a lot of content in our lesson library is community developed. So this thing is really powered by you guys. And when you submit lessons to our library, they then will be made available to the community for free. So one of the requirements of the program is to submit 3 lessons per year. So that's a total of 6 lessons during the 2-year run.
And essentially, I review the lessons when they come in. On a high level overview, I look at the lesson and I ask if I handed this to a teacher, would they be able to implement it immediately without having to figure out what's going on in the lesson, right? So the more detail you can provide and the more, student worksheets, examples of final projects, pictures of what things are supposed to look like, the stronger your lesson is when we're considering your application for the CE program. So there is a lesson blog post about what I'm looking for when you submit those lessons and apply to be a CE, and we can send that out in our follow-up email. I'll link to that blog post so that you know all the exact requirements. But I like to tell teachers that if you've been through a teacher preparation program and you've written a lesson plan for a teacher preparation program, that's pretty much what I'm looking for when you submit.
Makes sense. Ready to run. So yeah, those are the requirements. And just so you guys know, current CEs, this is an important topic to note. If you are unable to meet those requirements, you may be asked to return your Evo Classroom Kit. So heads up on that. We don't want to be mean about it, but we will be following up. All right. Certified Educator lessons. So this is still along the lines of your requirements during the program. So Melissa touched on this a little bit, but there's a link here. We'll share this entire slide deck with you guys, and there's a link here to some of those guidelines she mentioned. Really good tips in there. And like Melissa mentioned, you want to be thinking about, like, if this was handed to an educator today, would they be able to take it and teach immediately? We want the more detail, the better. And if you have trouble, you can always, again, use that certified educator email address or reach out to support@ozobot.com. We will help you through the process. And we have a link in here as well to Kristen's lesson.
Yes, and we have short links later on, right before Kristen speaks, to share her specific lessons as well. So yes. Those will be there for you to explore because she has some really amazing content.
Yes, it's part of why we picked you, Kristen, to help us co-host.
Keep talking.
Okay, so the really fun part, certified educator perks. Why would you want to deal with those requirements and be part of this program? So I know that other solutions and tools out there have similar programs, but I'm not sure if that many come with so much in terms of product. So I do just want to highlight that all of our certified educators, once accepted, get a full Ozobot Evo Classroom Kit with 12 robots. This is actually what you're seeing is our brand new charging base that comes in our new classroom kits. And if you've been hearing the word, hopefully the buzz about Ozobot Classroom, that now also comes with your purchase of an Evo Classroom Kit. Purchase in the case of CEs, you get it for free. So you're getting a classroom kit with your robots, a license code, and Ozobot Classroom Communicator so that you can create your Ozobot Classroom account and everything else you need to get started. You're also going to have ongoing support from our EDU department, Melissa again, and marketing and sales like to get involved too and hear from you guys and provide support. CEs are all granted access to our Ozobot Education Facebook group, and that's a really great way to connect with one one another, do some networking. We think we have a really special group of people, some really innovative, creative educators. So we think there's value alone in connecting you with that community. That group also gets new lesson plans in advance. So when it comes to testing things like that out in your school or classroom, there's value there. CEs get granted this official status and designation to put on your resume. That comes with the digital badge for your email signatures. We have been, if you've been following Ozobot for a little while, you may have noticed that we're kind of updating our branding, our new t-shirts and things, everything's getting a consistent new look. That includes our certified educator branding and those badges. So we're going to have new digital badges coming out soon for all those current CEs logged in and listening. That'll be included in the next CE newsletter. So keep an eye out for that. Certified educators also get exclusive invites to join us at national conferences. Another reason we picked Kristen to join us today, because she was just with us at FETC in Miami. So we can talk a little bit more about that. Just a note there that you actually have to submit 6 lessons within the year to qualify for that, because it comes with support for travel and lodging.
And the reason we asked for that is, and Kristen can speak to this when she's speaking, but we do ask our CEs to kind of be the voice of the teacher in our booth and to show attendees around the lesson library, and we want to highlight the excellent work that you contributed and created, and there's no better person to speak to that content than the person who created it. So we just want to make sure that there's rich and meaningful content for whatever certified educator is coming to attend these conferences with us to be able to share all their amazing work and ideas.
Yeah, and we've found that it's so valuable to have CEs there with us, because for those other educators coming to visit our booth, it's so great for them to hear from a more objective voice, not necessarily someone employed by the brand. So that's been really great. We've tried it out for the first time this year and want to keep that going. And then finally on here, we've got exclusive webinars. So you're tuning into an Ozobot-wide general webinar, but we do ones just for CEs where we are often covering news and updates that are not shared with the public yet. So that can be really fun. You get early access and can sign up for testing programs.
And don't forget, you get really cool swag as well. So this is a certified educator hoodie that comes in your welcome package when you're accepted into the program, along with other fun swag that we'll keep a surprise for now.
Yes, I know. I was like, should we talk about all of it? Soon enough. Ooh, this is brand new, actually. Yep. Certified Educator Awards. Melissa, I'm going to let you speak to this. I'm very excited about it.
Official as of today. We are asking that the 3 lessons that are required are submitted by July 1st. So we know most teachers end school in June. We are going to give you a couple weeks to, get your lessons in and collect all your materials if you need that extra time. And so that's going to be our almost due date, if we want to call it that, for your requirements as a CE. So later in July, after we get everyone's submissions in, we would love to honor all the hard work of our CEs and highlight by giving awards and prizes. And some of the prizes that some of the awards that we're going to give away, you can see here, they're listed here. The most lessons submitted, most innovative lessons, the most accessible lessons for diversity and inclusion, for special ed students, best elementary lesson, best high school lesson, best turnkey lessons, and more. I think we're gonna try and include other certified educator awards. I know one that comes to mind is outstanding certified educator. So if you feel like you have gone above and beyond, please email certifiededucator@ozobot.com and let us know all the amazing things that you've done so that we can keep you in mind when you're deciding on these awards.
Yeah, it's Ozobot's version of the Academy Awards. It's going to be fun. All right, so that brings us to Kristen.
And she is an amazing educator. She's National Board Certified. She won the Innovative Teaching Award in Pennsylvania. She's a certified educator, and she is just, in all of my conversations with her, she is such an insightful, thoughtful Educator, and we're just really proud to be working with her. So.
Well, thank you. And I love having this time to chat with you all. I wasn't expecting 145 people, so I'm a little nervous here, but I like the idea of the awards nicknamed the Aussies. That's great.
Yes.
Good idea.
We're making a note of that.
But I'm here in Chile, Pennsylvania, and I am a K-5 STEM teacher. I was a tech coach, library and gifted, and I was one of the second round of the original certified educator. So I've been doing this program for quite a long time. It's changed over the years, but I really, really like this particular iteration of the program because making the lesson plans is really important. So not only do you get cool swag, I wore my shirt today too, you get some opportunities. I have presented, as they had mentioned, at FETC in the Ozobot quarter dome, I guess it would be called. And I have had a chance to present information about Ozobots a lot of different places. I presented at state conferences. Our state conference here is called PETE&C, Pennsylvania Educators Technology Conference and Expo, and also at ISTE. People want to see presentations with Ozobots. A lot of people have Ozobots because they're affordable, and these little powerful robots can do just about anything. And so when you have Ozobot listed somewhere in your presentation description, people want to come and see what you're talking about. Presented 2 sessions at our local state conference recently, and that was one of the biggest questions I had was about Ozobots. So that was one of the greatest parts to me, is that I have been able to be accepted for different presentations. Of course, getting to go with the entire team to FETC was huge. Spending a day in Miami in a cold January day in Pennsylvania, very, very much appreciated, of course. The free kit is awesome. That is something that is newer. We used to be able to put in, and it was like Ozobucks, and you could buy them, but to have a free kit that you can share and lend out to people, or post some lessons on Twitter to get a stronger following, and to just test them with your new kit. I have not gotten the new kit yet. I had a chance to see it and feel it at FETC, but I have not had a chance to actually get that free kit myself yet, but hopefully that'll be arriving relatively soon. When they say something's gonna happen, it always does. The new website, having the insight about the new website in the communicator before it came out to the general public was huge. And the thing that I really like about it, and Gerald mentioned it in the chat too, that Ozobot's really responsive. They're a very responsive company. If you have trouble, you just email and they fix things. You know, I talked to Diego, who's in sales, and send him an email, and he gets back to me very, very quickly. And another thing that I really like about the fact that they listen to us is that I've gotten a chance to meet all these people. I don't know if any of you have fangirl or fanboy moments, but I had a complete fangirl moment. Adrienne can tell you. I was just really excited to finally meet her and meet Melissa and meet the team. These are the people who are the voice and face of Ozobot, and to actually get to meet them in person, to meet the founder of the company, the CEO of the company, was really huge for me. Speaking about the published lessons, it's a real honor to be published. To have something that I've created that's in an international audience, I think is just amazing. They flashed on it briefly. I have a couple lessons in there. I have a few more in the hopper, and then I have a couple more up here that are going to be published relatively soon. But having those published lessons that is somewhere, that's something that I, in getting my evaluations for my school district, we use the Charlotte Danielson model. I don't know if anyone else around here uses that, but in that you have to show that your outreach is beyond your classroom to be distinguished. And how much more distinguished can you be reaching an audience of many, many educators in a published lesson plan that's on their website? So I just think that's an amazing perk, besides the fact that you get the shirt and the free kit. Having a lesson actually published somewhere is really, really amazing. The recognition, having the name badge with my email and the badge that I use on Twitter and other things has helped me really gain a Twitter following, first of all, and also to be kind of recognized as an expert. I've had people call me and ask about different things or what they should purchase, and I feel honored that people recognize through Ozobot and the Certified Educator program that, that we know what we're talking about and that we're valued and honored by Ozobot. So I think all of those things, especially the fact that Ozobot listens to us. We were at the booth at FETC, and I made a suggestion about having a meet the certified educator part of the booth, and they implemented it at the next conference. So when you say something, they listen. They want to know what we're thinking, and they love getting our feedback. And I think that's an amazing part of the company. You know, this company is worldwide, but they seem almost local, and the fact that they are so responsive to the teacher's needs and to what you email and what you send in. The last part that I wanted to share about is on Twitter. My Twitter handle is on there, Albright Teacher, and I often post a lot of things that I'm doing with Ozobots on my Twitter. And so please follow me and please share your ideas with me. I'd love to see what you're doing, and make sure that you use the @Ozobot handle when you're writing your lessons or putting pictures or other things up, because you'll often get another fangirl moment, a response from the team, which I think is really exciting in kind of a nerdy way. But it has really been life-changing for me in the fact that it's opened doors for me at, say, ISTE and the local conference, getting to go to Miami, having my lesson published on the website, getting some free swag. It is definitely worth the hard work that goes into putting some lesson plans together. No, they're not easy. They're very, very detailed, but it is worth the time that you want to spend to put that in.
And not to mention the impact that Kristen's lessons will have on all the other educators and students that are able to access and utilize them and learn from them. So
yeah, it definitely expands the number of students you get to reach and impact as an educator. And I just want to note, speaking of fangirl moments, that's how we all feel when we get to meet you guys, our CEs. So it is mutual.
Exciting.
Great. On the next slide, I believe we have short links to Kristen's lessons. Kristen, I hope you don't mind that I put up there that coming soon is your, she mentioned to me within the last day that she was working on a lesson, and I just got so excited about it. I wanted everyone to know that there is one coming soon.
Yeah, it's in the hopper. I just have to finish putting some final touches on it. I had trouble figuring out the angles with the, I had a whole team of teachers, several people I emailed, a few people I reached out to Twitter, and a math teacher in my building helped me with this lesson. So I just wanted to make sure I got it right before I put it out there, because math is not my strength, but I think it was necessary, and that was a lesson that wasn't on the website yet. That's another thing about the lesson plans, though. You need to make sure that it's not something that's duplicated that's already on there. You want to do your research before you take the time to write the lesson. There's many, many lesson plans, so you want to make sure you find an individual interesting way, not only to win one of the OZs, but to have your lesson considered for the lesson library, and then, of course, to become a certified educator.
Absolutely. I don't know if you want to speak very briefly about the other two lessons that are available currently and live in the lesson library, Kristen?
Absolutely. The first one was the contributions of Black inventors. I really like the fact, another reason, just a personal reason I love the company so much, is that they're really interested in diversity and equity, looking for lessons that are, we actually had a discussion about this at FETC, and having a far reach in the contributions of Black inventors was one that Melissa challenged me to write. So challenge accepted, I wrote it and had it out there. But the contributions of Black inventors, there are so many different things that have been overlooked about contributions, of course, of Black inventors in history. And so this is a poster that would be interactive, thinking of the different moves that Ozobot has. It allows a little bit more creativity. For example, the inventor of the traffic light was a famous Black inventor, and the name is, it's in my lesson plan. But having students be able to use the traffic light signal in their lesson plan, or the person who invented the washing machine, having it spin, making that little bit of creativity takes that lesson, I hope, from, if you're looking at the SAMR model, something that would be substitution, to actually being able to reinvent and make that even better with the lesson plan about African-American culture. So not only is it a cultural lesson, but it's also artistic and creative as well. The other lesson that I just finalized back and forth, Melissa and I have had several emails back and forth about this lesson. It was about river erosion. I'm a big science person, and so my lesson about river erosion, you trace two rivers. As you can see on the screen, I'm pointing like you can see what I'm pointing to, but two separate rivers over 20 years difference in time. And you watch the Ozobots go down the river and notice where the river looks different. And then they make some inferences about what's happening around where the river is and how the river has changed over time. And then my last one, the two-dimensional figures, is an Ozo-Blockly lesson. That's something I'm really trying to get into, is Ozo-Blockly. We do a lot of the, in K-5, the line coding or the color coding, but I really want to get into the Ozo-Blockly even more than we have. So I have 2 or 3 lessons that I'm thinking of right now. One, the two-dimensional shape guessing game, and then a few others that I will be putting together about Ozo-Blockly, or the Ozo-Blockly.
I'm glad you brought that up, Kristen. I know when I'm reviewing these lessons, I do keep in mind that having a variety of both lessons strengthens your application to the program. So it's not necessarily a requirement, but definitely strengthens your application if you have both color codes and Ozo-Blockly, because it just signifies to us that you really know your content and you know how to use both platforms, and you can really speak to and advocate for our 2 ways to code.
That actually brings up a good point, because I see a lot of questions in the chat about how to apply for the program. We talked a little bit about the requirements once you're in, but maybe we can speak really quickly about the process for applying.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of overlap here. We've been talking a lot about the lesson requirement once you're part of the Certified Educator program. It's also part of the application process. So if you are interested in the Certified Educator program, all you have to do is actually submit 3 lessons. So you're going to need to create an account in order to submit lessons. You're going to create an Ozobot Classroom account. You can get there from our website. If you go to ozobot.com/tryclassroom, you can sign up from there. I'll drop it into the chat as well. Once you have an account, you go to the lessons section, and then there's a lesson creator tool. And that's what you actually use to submit your lessons. Like Kristen mentioned, they are quite detailed, but it's all about getting other educators valuable lesson plans and sharing with the community. So bear with us on that, or let us know if you have any questions about it. Once you have submitted 3 lessons, those go to Melissa for approval. She may have edits or feedback, but if you can get through that approval process, then you've made it through the first part of the Certified Educator application process. Part 2 then just involves submitting a video cover letter. We can always do like a Zoom video meeting as well, accommodating your schedule, but a cover letter is even better if you just tell us a little bit about why you're interested in the program and what's motivated you to apply.
And a couple things to add there. After you submit your first lesson, you actually get a free t-shirt.
Yes.
And then after your third, I invite you to apply and to send in that video cover letter. So I actually keep track when your lessons come through. When your first one comes through, I make a note of it. I send you a code for a free t-shirt. And then I track from that point on how many lessons you've submitted. So I manage that on my end, so you don't have to worry about following up with me. The second part of that, we talked about, I had another thought, but it slipped to my mind.
Something about approving lessons.
We have a question about
video
cover letter.
Yes. Yeah. That is very intentionally open-ended. We just want to learn more about you, get to know your personality a little bit more. I think the basic guidelines are we want to know who you are, what you teach, and why you want to be a certified educator. But we love to learn more about you. So the more that you can share, the better. So
yeah. And just one general tip I have, if you are an educator who is maybe a little bit familiar with Ozobot or maybe not yet, you do want to be familiar with Ozobot and our 2 ways to code before applying. And one way that you can get there, if you guys can still see our screen, I'm just going to pull up our educator entry kit. It can be a really good introduction to Ozobot and our 2 ways to code. And we know that resources can be tight and restrictive. So our educator entry kit was actually designed just to give you one robot and then a quick bot camp training in our 2 ways to code. So it's a great way to get up to speed enough to the point where you could start developing some lesson content and then start the application process. So I just wanted to mention that as a tip. Cool. Do we want to keep going through questions for a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So Heather's in the room with us, and she's been scouring through the chat. Apologies that I dropped a broken link into the chat earlier, but Heather fixed it, so thank you. And Heather, if you don't mind shouting out some of the questions, and we or Kristen will jump in and answer.
Perfect. So we just got one from Sarah asking if she's Canadian and she's using Canadian standards in her lessons. Are Canadians able to apply?
So just to repeat the question in case you weren't able to hear, we have an educator using Canadian standards and wondering if she's able to apply. Currently in our lesson creator tool, we have American standards, but we're working to expand them. So we have next generation science standards, Computer Science Teachers Association standards, ISTE standards, and both ELA and math Common Core State standards in the autofill standard library, I would say. So those are already included, and you can easily pop those in. If you are, for example, a Canadian educator, I would encourage you to either plug in those standards, like look those up. I can also send them to you if you'd like them. I have them all already links for them, so I'm happy to send them your way if you just kind of want to browse through and find a couple students that would fit to your lesson. And I know we're working to expand the standards area so that international teachers can also include their international standards as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, absolutely, I encourage you to apply. And just, yeah, the workaround would be find one American standard for now, plug that in, that is tied into the lesson that you created, and we'll go from there. Yeah.
And we have a couple
It does have to be not state standards, though. They're ISTE standards, they're Common Core standards. In Pennsylvania, we have our own science standards, for example. Those aren't searchable at this time.
We're working to expand that. Yeah, thank you, Kristen, for mentioning that. So if you're a teacher in a non-Common Core state or non-NGSS state, you'll probably fall into that category as well. So I would encourage you to do the same. We're working as hard as we can to expand the options for standards, but that is just our engineering team is currently working on that, and that's a high priority for us. So, yeah.
We have a couple of people asking when the CE program starts.
So the question was, when does the CE program start? So I am accepting applications on a rolling basis, but we are measuring the submissions and all the requirements by school year. So we're giving you a little bit of extra time. Like I said earlier, that your lessons will be due by July 1st. And then after that, we're rolling into what we're going to consider the next school year. So, and one thing I do want to clarify as well is if you apply for the CE program, the 3 lessons that you submit count for your first year. You don't have to submit 6 lessons in your first year. So once you apply with your 3 lessons, you don't need to submit 3 more lessons until your second year.
Yeah, very important detail.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do all lessons have to be Evo, or can some be?
That's a good question. I don't think we've gotten that one previously. I think it's important to us that lessons are compatible with Evo. Evo is the current robot that we're focused on, and a lot of the lessons within Ozobot Classroom are centered around compatibility with Evo. If you have not seen it, we did a webinar 2 weeks ago about Ozobot Classroom, and that would be really revealing when it comes to why we want people to be able to use lessons with Evo, because it's got some extra features like live lesson insights. Evo is our Bluetooth enabled robot, so it's the only one capable of doing that. So another long-winded answer. I think we prefer Evo, but we'd be willing to work with you. If you have bits, so you're looking to develop lessons that are compatible with Evo, but you don't have them to work with, we can definitely help, because that should be easy enough for us to bridge that gap.
And another option would be, again, as Adrienne mentioned, getting an educator entry kit with the Evo, because that is Evo only, and purchasing one of those and then developing 3 lessons, because you're already familiar with it. Evo won't be, a whole new ball game. It will be pretty similar, just with different features. So that would be an easy way to address that concern.
Great. And what is the turnaround time after they submit their videos and also when they get the classroom kits upon acceptance?
That's a good question.
Turnaround time, I try to be as quick as possible. So I do like to turn it around, within a week. But that being said, our applications have been light recently. So if the volume does pick up, that may change. But definitely I've been turning that around within a week of the submission of the video cover letter. But with the classroom kit, do you know?
If someone is asking because they have been waiting, like Kristen, that in particular was happening because these were our new kits, so they were just coming into stock for the first time. But typically that's going to be, our shipping time is 2 to 4 business days, so that's going to be more the norm. The slower shipping lately has been an exception, just because we had to fill pre-orders of our brand new kits first.
And so what happens is once you're accepted into the program, I send you an email. I actually ask you to fill out a survey to collect your shipping and mailing address, which Heather handles and gets that shipped out to you. So it's a fairly quick turnaround.
Yeah. And we'll work to make that as quick as we can.
We have a couple of people asking how many CEs we currently have, and do we have a cap on how many we'll accept?
Good question. We currently have right around 100 CEs. We are getting close to that end of the school year. I mean, it's going to come up pretty quickly. And then we will be checking in with people on whether they've been able to meet the requirements. So there could be a culling of the list at that point, not to scare anyone, but we are trying to just, check in that people are active and engaged and still want to be part of the program. So from there, we are looking to accept anywhere from another 100 to 200. We want to grow the program because it's working so well.
We have a question from Kim. She's the leader communicator. Wants to know about the shipping being backed up.
Yes. I'm sorry I have so much bad shipping news. Okay, so our Ozobot Classroom Communicator, this relates to another question I saw dropped into the chat, which said, how can we watch old webinars? If you go to, I think Heather answered this, but if you go to our website, ozobot.com, go to educate, and then calendar, and that's where all upcoming webinars and past webinars are available to you. There's a very recent past webinar, recently passed, about Ozobot Classroom. In there we cover all things related to Ozobot Classroom, including that communicator. The communicator is what powers a boosted Bluetooth connection to your full classroom set of Ozobot Evos, and it is key to a lot of Classroom's greatest features. We've been collecting requests for those over the past couple of months for teachers who purchased Ozobot Evos in the past, including certified educators who also received them. And there's been a delay in shipping related to COVID-19, I'm sorry to say. So our supplier for that was affected, not so much in terms of actual illness, but their factory was shut down. And so things are back on track. We're getting inventory back in, so we expect to be shipping those soon. We're sending another email late this week with an update on shipping time. I don't have an exact date to speak to right now, but in the meantime, really appreciate you holding tight. And yeah, our hearts go out to everyone. We really empathize with everyone being affected by this in ways both big and small. So thanks for your patience.
Can you buy the new charging station for the Ozobot that you know?
Yes, you can. We had it up on our website and our shop online for a moment, and then we already went out of stock. So coming in soon at ozobot.com, you go to shop, and we'll have our charging bases available for sale there for $100.
And is Ozobot Classroom currently still in beta?
Good question. Ozobot Classroom has launched to the public, so is no longer in beta, but you'll notice that one particular section, classes, is still in beta. A feature that I mentioned earlier, the live lesson insights, that is a part of Classroom that we really want to build with educators. We want to understand from you guys what insights and features are the most valuable to you during a lesson. So what do you want to know about your students' engagement and progress during a lesson, and then afterwards as well. So we've got some live lesson insights in there now. The best way to experience that is with Melissa's core coding curriculum lessons, specifically with color codes.
Yes.
And if you are ready and willing, please try that out. And then there's a feedback button on the right side of Ozobot Classroom. Like Kristen mentioned, we are super passionate about listening to educators. Use that feedback button. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, and it will be amazing. You'll see things change in our engineering team will make changes in a pretty short turnaround. So please use that. But that classes section with the live lesson insights is still in beta. And then I know there's a known issue that the community helped us find with updating Ozobot Evos with the devices section of Classroom. So they're working on resolving that now. That's a bug that we know about. So hopefully that covers what you were asking about. But if not, if you're having trouble with something else, email support@ozobot.com.
I'm going to try to talk louder so that they can hear the question.
Oh, sorry.
We can repeat it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can we connect Ozobot to Chromebooks without the OCC?
Can we connect the Ozobots to Chromebooks without the OCC?
You're going to be able to connect to one Ozobot Evo. To give you an example of that, you can do the BotCamp educator training within Classroom with just your Evo and your Chromebook. But what the OCC, the Ozobot Classroom Communicator, does is it boosts that Bluetooth connection to all of your bots. One of the pain points we've heard about from educators is anytime they're using Bluetooth with anything over 5 or 6 devices, connection gets spotty. That's outside of Ozobot, just any Bluetooth devices. So that's why we developed that Classroom Communicator, patent pending, to boost your Bluetooth connection.
We have
There were
people asking if they have to have Evo to be a CE or if they can have BIT, and also if we do a trade-in program with BITs for Evo.
For the certified educators, yes, absolutely. Certified educators, you'll get a kit of whatever our robot is. So currently Ozobot Evo. But when we introduce new products, which we try not to do too often, because we know that's not great for the education community, but if and when we do, certified educators get that new product. They get rolled into what's new. Kristen, were you going to say something?
There's a lot of questions about trading in bits. I see a lot of questions in the chats that are coming, the chat that's coming up about trading in bits. And I didn't think they had a trade-in program where you trade in bits for Evos.
We don't currently. That is something that we've been asked about a little bit. So we'll have to put our heads together and see if there is something we could offer. My best advice right now is to apply for the Certified Educator program, because then you'll get your Evos. And we might actually, I know there are probably some more questions, but in our last couple of minutes, we might want to do the giveaway. And then, like I mentioned, what we'll do after this webinar is we'll send an email to all registrants, so including you guys who have attended, and you'll get a recording of the webinar, a link to our slides, which the best thing in there is Kristen's lessons, so you're going to want that. And then we like to dig back through the chat and find any questions we missed. So we'll make sure to get to you guys.
Now the fun part, the raffle. So
Yay.
Kristen actually doesn't know that I'm going to ask her, but we figured the way that we would randomize this is to ask her to pick a number between 1 and 147. Kristen, do you have a number?
Number I always say is 77.
All right, let's see. Heather is gonna look at the document. The way that this raffle works is that when you filled out that Google form, it plugs you into a spreadsheet. And so we're just looking at line 77 because that's the random number that Kristen chose. And we're looking to see who has won the classroom kits.
We're gonna make you guys wait.
I'm so excited. I'm not even in the running. Never-ending drum roll.
I know.
Sorry.
What I can do is answer a couple more questions while you pull it up, Heather. Okay. I got you. Let's see. There were a couple I saw. Okay, I'm gonna go back in our Q&A a little bit.
And while she's looking, I know some people are asking questions about, oh, thanks. I hope I get my Ozobots first too. No, just kidding. If you want to connect with me on Twitter too, I would be happy to help you any way you can. Melissa, of course, is the one you should ask, but I also wouldn't mind helping anyone who needs help with anything about certified educators, or if you have any questions about what I really think of it, which is, it's awesome.
Thank you, Kristen. So one question I saw was, can we submit 3 lessons at once? Yes, absolutely. That is fair game. They don't need to be like staggered or spread out. Another question, the educator kit comes with Evo, ? Yes, that educator entry kit I pointed out on our shop, that's $99. That comes with 1 Evo robot plus that teacher training in our 2 ways to code. Then I got a question, do you need to submit different grade level lessons? For example, I teach 2nd grade. Do I need to provide lessons for 3rd or 4th grade? No, you can stick to your own grade level. We want to work with you on where your expertise is, so that is totally fine. All 3 of your lessons could be for 2nd grade, for example.
You can also put in a range for your lesson plans. And then having, when you put in your range for it, under teacher tips, you can put in how to accelerate or scaffold your lesson. So it doesn't have to necessarily just be one particular grade level, because when I did mine, I made a range, but I also explained how to, in my next one that's not here yet, how to scaffold it or remediate it.
Great, good point. One more question I want to address. Todd asked, can you talk more about Bot Camp? Yes, gladly. So Bot Camp is something we came up with in order to train the teacher in our 2 ways to code. So coding screen-free with color codes and then coding on screens with our Ozobot visual programming. It's pretty quick. You just need to dedicate about 1 hour to go through all of Bot Camp, and it's going to get you to a point where the goal is to get you to a point where you feel maybe comfortable taking the next step, like getting a classroom kit and bringing this to your students, or talking to someone at your district to learn more about Ozobot. And there was one more thing I wanted to say about that. Oh, Bot Camp in the past used to be purely physical. So you'd purchase an Evo Educator entry kit and it came with this booklet that you went through and completed. I do want to mention that now it's interactive. So you still get a printed booklet. It's got color code activities in there and some prompts for Ozobot. But what you do is you go and create that free Ozobot Classroom account, and your instructions and actually some input and insights come from your dashboard inside of Ozobot Classroom. So it's digital, physical. It's a pretty cool experience. Would love to hear what you guys think of that and if you're enjoying it. One thing I want to note about that is we devised it to be something just for the educator to use, but then we hear that some educators, it makes total sense. Some educators want to see how Ozobot engages their students before making a big decision. So we do recommend it for just engaging maybe 2 or 3 students. So you could go through Bot Camp with a couple of your students and see how that goes. Thank you for asking. We love Bot Camp. We ready?
So we have figured out who number 77 is, and that is Jeff Bracken.
Jeff Bracken, you're our winner.
Congratulations!
Yay! So we will get your new 12-bot Evo Classroom Kit shipped right away as soon as we get Kristen hers. Sorry again, Kristen, about the delay. Yeah, I think that about covers everything. Like we said, we'll send the email with links and all the essential information, but just want to thank all of you for taking the time to tune in today. I know educators have a lot on their plates, and so the fact that you've chosen to spend an hour with us really means a lot. And we hope we answered some of your questions. Kristen, thank you so much for joining us too.
And I did see someone ask about a discount code. I do have a discount code as an Ozobot ambassador, so if you want to reach out to me, I can get you 10% off. I can send that via Twitter.
Awesome. Okay, that's a great note to end on. Thanks, you guys. Everyone, enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.